Picture this. You get home from work, you finish doing your chores, you lay your cat in his special bed and you tuck him in, and you're ready to attend to the small amount of leisure time that you have left for the rest of your day. You heard about a new game. It's called Clair Obscur Expedition 33. From the title, you know nothing. What a strange title. Knowing that you only have a small amount of time, is this game going to be worth your while? Assuming that that routine is pretty common for you, is this the type of game that you can enjoy in small increments? Well, this video is going to discuss that. This is a review from the perspective of somebody who works a 9 to 5 job. You get home, you have that small amount of time to play, and is this game worth it? I have this tool, this spreadsheet, the game ranking tool that I've made that's trying to help us evaluate certain criteria that are going to be more important when you're looking at a game from a limited time perspective. So, getting right into it, we'll start going over the details. The game is called Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It is an RPG. It's a turn-based game. You take turns playing like Final Fantasy. Single player only, no multiplayer, no co-op. Fantasy type setting. I've currently played the game for 37 hours, which is enough to beat the story. It has a linear story. It's not like a roguelike or like a game that has replayability for random elements. It's just a linear story game. It costs $65 Canadian. So convert that $10 American, £2 50 pence. Time to reward would be the first metric on my list, so let's just get right into it. So how quickly is the game enjoyable the second you boot it up? Well, for this game specifically, when you're just getting into it, you're going to launch the game, you're going to make your settings, you're going to be hit with a long amount of cutscenes. And having played this game, I can tell you that the story is a very important aspect of it. The combat and the general gameplay are very enjoyable, but the story is phenomenal. And it only gets better. So what am I saying? Don't skip the cutscenes. So knowing that you shouldn't skip the cutscenes, it does increase the amount of time that it takes you before you're really having fun with it. Now, don't let that hold you back. But time to reward on this game, at least in the beginning, is not fantastic. There are limited combat encounters right in the beginning. You're really just taking in the story. It's like you're watching a movie at first, trying to figure out things. Now, that is still fun, but it's not fun in the same way as just, you're playing a video game. If you wanted to watch a movie, you could watch a movie. Learning curve. How easy is the game to learn? How long does it take to become proficient? So there's a few difficulty modes. You could play on a story-based mode if you're, like I said, just wanting to look at the skip through all the combat and just get straight to the narrative. There's a normal difficulty and then there's a hard difficulty. I played it on the hard difficulty. Even on the hardest difficulty, I don't think the learning curve is that bad. Effectively, in this game, you take turns. And it's just like Final Fantasy or Persona if you've ever played that. You select your move, you have a certain amount of resources that you can use to do a stronger attack, and then it just hits the enemy. But the unique thing is, when it's the enemy's turn, rather than just taking the damage based on what the enemy does, like Pokemon, there's a parry mechanic or a dodge mechanic. So it's a strange hybrid of a Dark Souls type game and a turn-based game where you have to learn the bosses or the enemy's attack patterns, and you can actually negate 100% of all of the damage by memorizing those attack patterns. I would say this makes it more challenging than a traditional turn-based game because the game expects you to dodge or parry the attacks, especially on the harder difficulty. On the harder difficulty, even with a good strategy, for the majority of the game, if you don't successfully dodge or parry, you will get killed in 1 to 2 hits every single time. So it's very important for you to learn those abilities. That being said, there are tells to the attack patterns for all the enemies. There's typically a swooshing sound that plays right before it, and the enemies will only have so many varieties of attacks. The later you get into the game, the more varieties they can show, which makes the game more difficult. But by that point in time, the player power also increases, that your difficulty doesn't get much harder. In the beginning of the game, it's arguably more hard, because even though there's fewer attack patterns, they all kill you instantly, and your player power is tiny. So it's tricky for this one. I would say the learning curve is maybe a 3. Not too difficult, not too easy, especially on the harder difficulties. It is designed, I think, to be a challenging game. Session flexibility. This one's good. So it's not an online game. You can pause at any time. And even within a combat encounter, you can just not take your turn. So if it's your turn, and you need to go get up and help your mother get the Christmas tree down from the shelves in the garage, you can do that. And so I'd say this is pretty much as flexible as it gets. Um, Single player, fully pausable. So that's great. Especially so if you have limited time and you're taken away to do a random chore or task, this is not going to be an issue for you with this game. Grind and tedium. There's really not much of a grind in this game. You do level up. You could theoretically, just like Dark Souls, where you could kill enemies by a bonfire to get souls to get stronger, and then go back to the bonfire to reset the enemies. That exact mechanic exists here. There are effectively bonfires. You go to an enemy, kill it in the turn-based combat, and then reset it at the bonfire. You could farm XP infinitely like that, but there's really no advantage to doing that. The game is easy enough that you don't ever have to do it that way. So there's really no grind that you would have to do to enjoy this game. So I would say that's perfect. How good is the game relative to its cost? Well, it's expensive. $65. That's pretty expensive, Canadian dollars. But it's fantastic as well. So it's not, in the time that you play, you're getting a phenomenal experience. You're getting something. It's truly a masterpiece. It's just so good. But you're only getting a limited amount. So unless you're going to play New Game Plus and play maybe with a different team composition, I would say the replayability is limited. The game is not really designed to be extremely replayable. The story is linear. It's the same every time. There's maybe a few things that could be different depending on how you play it. There's a few story decisions you can make without spoiling anything. But, you know, pure value proposition wise, if you're really looking to maximize the amount that you get from your money, I don't think this is a super stellar game in that category. The quality of the game is extremely high, but the proportional money to reward ratio, I don't think is the strong point of this game. Memory burden. How easy is it for you to remember what you're doing? Well, that depends how long of a break you take in between play sessions. I would say the mechanics are quite simple. Even the abilities that you have, there's not 100 different abilities that you have to learn. And the attack patterns for the enemies are also limited too. So if you were to put this game down and pick it back up, I think it would be relatively easy for you to remember what you were doing. That being said, I don't think you're likely to do that, because if you get far enough in the story where you know what's going on, you're going to be very enticed to get to the end just because you want to know what's going to happen. It's really one of the best stories in video games. But again, this is purely from the perspective of you're 9 to 5, you've got an hour to play, evaluating the game only from that lens. How is it? Well, yeah, the memory burden, that's not going to be an issue here. Core loop satisfaction. This is a 5 for me. This game is fantastic. Everything feels great. Just navigating when you're in a combat encounter, just the sound from selecting attack versus skill, it just feels so satisfying. And then the attacks themselves are weighty. The real-time event button presses are all like the balancing and the tuning, the quality assurance was done so well in this game. The music is just so good. Like during all the combat encounters, it's just an amazing score, tons of really catchy tunes, and the story is unbelievable. Think Baldur's Gate, where it's not quite the same. Where Baldur's Gate has the variety of things that can happen. It's just such an interesting concept, and they just took the story in a direction that I never knew it was going to be like that. And so, yeah, it's really fun. If you're willing to wait for the intro cutscenes and then get into the combat, and you're willing to humor that the story might be more interesting than you can give it credit for, it's such an amazing experience. Jude points. So for me personally, to just add my flex points to it, I'm gonna give it almost max points. I'm gonna give it 0.4. Because for me personally, there's been very few games where the story has actually made me think and feel something. It's unbelievable. It's just such a unique game in that respect, where the gameplay elements are great, and there's exploration and there's optional content and regular things. But the story, it's just such an interesting story, and there's just such weight to the story as well. Like, it doesn't hold back with regards to the kind of consequences and the theme of what it's trying to tell you. You'll have to play it to understand what any of that means, but if you're willing to give this a try, it's really, honestly, from the 9 to 5 gamer, it's not going to be difficult for you to pick this up. Get past the initial cutscenes, get in, and you're going to be able to take out the story pretty quick. it only takes a few hours to get through kind of chapters. There's different areas. Yeah, you can probably kill one major boss each day that you get to play, and then maybe 2 weeks, you can have this thing wrapped up, and you'll be better for it because it's such a great experience. And if you're willing to grind a bit more on the weekend and maybe put in a 5 hour session or something, then you'll finish it that much quicker. And I played the 37 hours. I think I finished it in about 33 hours, and then I did some optional stuff. If you, I did a decent. I think I did a decent amount of optional content though. Like I was trying to explore as much of the world as I could as I was playing. So if you were less concerned about little secrets and little journal entries and lore and stuff like that, and you just wanted to get it done and see what the story was, I think you could do this much quicker, maybe 20 hours, without really depriving yourself of much. And yeah, I really think it's worth picking up. It's a very unique game. There's few games I think that have a story as compelling as this one. Getting into the table of games, let's rank it then. 3-3-5-5, 3-5-5. 3-3-5-5, 3-5-5. At my 0.4 makes it 4.5. And that ranks it as number one of two. Just going back over these things here. Am I happy with any of this? I think so.